Picture this. It's a quiet Tuesday morning. You're in the car, heading up the M1 towards Sydney, coffee still warm in the cup holder, and you're keeping a steady eye on the car in front of you. Same as you always do. The gantry overhead flicks to a red X. The car in front doesn't move over, so you don't either. Seemed safe enough, seemed reasonable. 6 days later, a letter arrives at your kitchen table. $410 and 3 demerit points. Gone. Just like that. No warning. No second chance. Because from tomorrow, the 25th of May, 2024 D, the warning period on these new smart motorway cameras is officially over. And if you drive the M1 in New South Wales or Queensland and you don't know exactly what changed overnight, a single, honest mistake could cost you $410 in New South Wales or $619 if you're crossing into Queensland. That's not a speeding fine. That's not running a red light. That's simply being in the wrong lane at the wrong moment, under a sign you may not have fully understood. By the end of this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what these new rules mean, what the cameras can now see, the 3 traps that are catching good drivers out every single day, and 5 specific things I want you to do this week to make sure your license and your wallet stay protected. G'day Australia, I'm James Walker, and welcome back to Aussie Pension Watch. Now, I know what you might be thinking. James, this is a pension channel. What's the M1 got to do with my pension? And that's a fair question. Here's the answer. For a single pensioner receiving the current maximum age pension of around $1,116 per fortnight, a $410 fine doesn't just sting. It wipes out more than 1/3 of your entire fortnightly income in one blow. That's your groceries, your electricity, your PBS medications. Gone because of a road sign that nobody properly explained. That's why we're talking about this today, because nobody else is. If this channel has been useful to you, or to someone in your family who's trying to make sense of what's happening out there, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button right now and tap the bell beside it. Every week, I bring you straightforward plain English updates on pensions, Centrelink changes, and, as you can see today, anything else that directly affects how far your money goes. It costs you nothing, and it could save you hundreds. So go ahead, I'll be right here. Now let me give you the big picture, because this isn't just about one stretch of motorway. The M1 corridor, known as the Pacific Motorway through Queensland and the Princes Motorway through parts of New South Wales, is one of the most heavily traveled road networks in the entire country. Millions of trips are made on this corridor every single week, by commuters, by families, by tradies, and yes, by plenty of Australian seniors who drive regularly for medical appointments, to visit grandchildren, or just to stay independent and connected to the communities they've built their whole lives in. Transport for New South Wales and the Queensland Department of Transport and Main Roads have been rolling out what they call smart motorway technology across these corridors for a number of years now. What that means in plain English is overhead electronic gantries, those big green frames stretching across the lanes above you that can change speed limits in real time, close individual lanes using a red X signal, and guide traffic around accidents or hazards before gridlock sets in. The system, when people follow it, genuinely does save lives and reduce crash severity. I want to be clear about that. But here's the part that matters for today. For the past several months, across a number of newly activated gantry zones on the M1, Transport for NSW was running a warning period. Cameras were watching. They saw every violation. But instead of a fine, you'd receive a warning letter. That grace period for the specific enforcement zones being activated tomorrow is now finished. According to Transport for NSW, over 5,000 warnings were issued for red X lane violations alone during the trial period on the M1 corridor in New South Wales. 5,000. That tells you something very important. A huge number of drivers still don't understand these signals or don't take them seriously. And starting from the 25th of May, understanding them is no longer optional. Now here's the first thing I want you to understand, and I want you to listen carefully to this part, because this is where most people get it completely wrong. The red X signal on a smart motorway gantry is not a suggestion. It is not a caution. It is not a start thinking about merging advisory. The moment your vehicle's front bumper crosses the painted line beneath a gantry displaying a red X, the camera triggers. Automatically, instantly. There is no human sitting in a van making a judgment call. The AI-enabled cameras installed on these overhead gantries in both New South Wales and Queensland do not care that you didn't see it. They do not care that the car in front of you was still there. The fine is issued. In New South Wales, that fine is $410 plus 3 demerit points. In Queensland, it is $619, also with 3 demerit points attached. Confirmed by Transport for NSW and the Queensland Department of Transport and Main Roads respectively. Now, a flashing white arrow on the gantry is your early warning. That's your signal to start moving out of the lane. Think of it as a gentle tap on the shoulder. But the red X itself? That is the hard legal stop. By the time you see the red X, the merge should already be happening. I know that can feel like a lot to take in when you're traveling at 100 kilometers an hour with traffic around you. But this is the reality of how these systems work, and knowing it now is what keeps $400 in your pocket. Let me introduce you to Barry. Barry is 69 years old, lives in Gosford on the New South Wales Central Coast, and drives down the M1 into Sydney a couple of times a week, sometimes to see his specialist at Royal North Shore, sometimes to visit his daughter in Chatswood. Barry is a careful driver. He's been on the road for over 50 years without a serious incident. But Barry didn't know that the gantry signs on his stretch of the M1 had moved out of the warning phase. Last month, he saw a red X appear overhead, noticed the car in front wasn't moving, and held his position for another 3 seconds while he looked for a gap. The camera captured it. Barry is now looking at a $410 fine and 3 points off his license. For Barry, who receives the age pension as his primary income, $410 isn't an inconvenience. It's a crisis. That's more than 40% of his fortnightly pension payment. That's the week's groceries at Kohl's, the Opal top-up, the electricity direct debit, and the prescription from the chemist. All of it consumed by a 3-second hesitation under a road sign. And the painful part? Centrelink cannot help him. There is no hardship waiver through Services Australia for traffic fines. Barry has to pay it through NSW Revenue on phone number 1300 138 or contest it through the proper channels. A process that takes time, energy, and paperwork that most of us would rather avoid. So what's the second trap? Here's where it gets interesting, because this one surprises people. Variable speed limits on smart motorway gantries are legally enforceable the moment they appear. If you're cruising at 100 kilometers per hour, because that's the road standard limit, and the gantry suddenly drops the displayed speed to $60 because there's been an accident further ahead, or emergency vehicles are on the road, you are legally required to slow down immediately to 60, not gradually, not at your own pace, immediately. The speed displayed on those overhead signs is the legal limit at that moment, and it supersedes whatever the standard road limit is. Fines for exceeding the variable limit are calculated based on the displayed speed, not the usual limit. So in that scenario, you wouldn't be fined for doing 100 in a 100 zone. You'd be fined for doing 100 in a 60 zone. There's a significant difference in both the fine amount and the points. I know, keeping your eyes on those overhead signs while managing traffic, mirrors, and merging can feel like a lot. Trust me, you're not alone in finding it overwhelming at first, but awareness is everything, and that's exactly why I'm here. Now pay attention to this part, because the third trap is the one that's generating the most confusion right now. Most people know that New South Wales has mobile phone detection cameras placed across the state, including multiple locations along the M1 corridor. What most people do not realize, and this has caught a lot of good people out, is that those same cameras are now capable of detecting seatbelt non-compliance. The cameras use AI to look through the windscreen of your vehicle as you pass beneath the gantry. They can detect whether the driver is holding or using a phone, and they can also detect whether the driver or any passenger is not wearing a seatbelt. From the 1st of July, 2024, just weeks away, NSW Revenue will begin issuing actual fines for seatbelt offenses captured by these cameras. The fine is $410 per person detected without a seatbelt, not per vehicle, per person. So if you and your passenger are both unbuckled, that's $820 in a single pass under a single gantry. According to NSW Revenue and Transport for NSW, warning letters have already been going out for months. The fines begin in July. Now, a lot of seniors tell me they think these cameras are only watching for phone use. That assumption is going to be an expensive one for a lot of people very shortly. If you're finding this helpful today, do me a small favor. Drop a comment below, even just the word helpful, because that small action tells YouTube's system that this is content Australian drivers and seniors need to see. It gets shown to more people who need this information, and that's genuinely why I do this. Here's exactly what I want you to do this week. 5 steps. Practical, simple, and each one matters. Step 1. Check every gantry sign overhead when you're on the M1 every single time. Not once when you join the motorway and then forget about it. Every gantry, every time. A flashing white arrow means prepare to merge now. A red X means that lane is legally closed to you. The moment you see either of those signals, begin your lane change safely and promptly. Do not wait to see what the car ahead does. The camera doesn't know or care what the car ahead did. Step 2. Slow down the moment a variable speed limit appears on a gantry sign. Do not wait until you're closer to the incident ahead, and don't assume it doesn't apply to you because it looks clear from where you are. The legal limit is what the sign says, not what the road normally is. Adjust your speed calmly and safely as soon as the sign changes. Step 3. Before you next drive the M1, log into the Service NSW app on your phone or go to service.nsw.gov.au and check your current demerit point balance. This is free, quick, and only takes a minute or two. Knowing exactly where you stand means you'll know how much room you have and how carefully you need to manage the next few months. If you're unsure how to use the app, pop into your local Service NSW center. There are branches in Gosford, Newcastle, Chatswood, Parramatta, and right across the coast. Step 4. If you do receive a fine you believe is incorrect, call NSW Revenue on 1300 138 118 or Queensland TMR on 13238. Oh, if you were on the Queensland section of the M1, do not ignore the fine. Do not let it sit on the kitchen bench hoping it goes away. Contact them promptly, explain your situation clearly, and ask about your options. You have the right to request a review, and for genuine first-time errors on a newly activated system, that conversation is always worth having. Step 5. Have a conversation with anyone in your family, adult children, grandchildren, who regularly drives the M1 or any smart motorway corridor in New South Wales or Queensland. Share this video. Print out the key facts if that's easier. The rules that now apply to the M1 are being rolled out to other motorway corridors across both states over the coming months. This is not a temporary situation. This is the new standard for Australian motorway driving, and every driver in your family needs to understand it. Now, I want to say something directly to you before we finish. You have every right to use Australian roads. You've been paying registration, fuel, excise, and road levies your entire working life. You've contributed to this country in ways that go far beyond money. If you've made an honest mistake on the M1 because nobody clearly explained these new rules to you, that doesn't make you a bad driver. It makes you someone who deserved better information. And that's what I'm here to give you. You don't have to walk away from your independence, from your ability to drive to the shops, to the RSL, to your doctor, to your grandkids, because you didn't know about a sign. Now you do, and knowing is how you stay protected. Now, of course, every situation is different, and what I share here is general information, not personal financial or legal advice. For your specific circumstances, particularly if you're dealing with a fine dispute, always speak directly with NSW Revenue or Queensland TMR through the contact numbers I've given you. If today's video helped you understand something you didn't know this morning, please give it a thumbs up. It makes a real difference to how many people see it. Subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss a single update. And share this one with a friend or family member who drives the M1i. It could save them hundreds of dollars. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Have you already received a warning letter from one of these new Gantry cameras? Let me know below. Next time, I'll be walking you through the upcoming changes to age pension asset thresholds and what they could mean for your payment rate before the end of the financial year. You'll want to be there for that one. This is James Walker from Aussie Pension Watch. You've earned this, Australia. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.